Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. My name is Alexander, and I am a wine merchant. My job requires me to travel a lot, visiting wineries all over the world. The job is both challenging and incredibly exciting. Every time I taste different wines and experience their unique flavors and aromas, I am mesmerized. My wife Olivia and I live in a villa on the outskirts of the city. Olivia is a freelance writer who is elegant and sensual, a woman I fell in love with at first sight. We have seemingly perfect lives, fancy houses, enviable careers, and seemingly happy marriages. However, life is always unpredictable. We have been married for 3 years, and we have always wanted to have a child, but have never been able to do so. At first, we both thought it was just a matter of time, but as time went on, the issue grew to become a rift between us. I began to notice that Olivia's moods were becoming more and more erratic. Sometimes she would suddenly lapse into silence. Other times, she would lose her temper for no apparent reason. We've tried everything and seen countless doctors, but the results are always disappointing. Every time she comes out of the hospital, Olivia's eyes get bleaker. I could feel her pain, but there was nothing I could do. It was at this point that I began to notice some strange details. Olivia's whereabouts are becoming increasingly suspicious. A couple of times I called her, and she always said she was busy writing, but I could hear unfamiliar voices in the background. Another time, I came home early and saw her hanging up the phone in a panic with an unnatural flush on her face. I tried to convince myself that these were all illusions on my part, but the doubts within me grew stronger. Until one day, I was organizing my closet and accidentally found a box of birth control pills. At that moment, I felt my heart almost stop. We've been trying to have a baby, so why is Olivia secretly taking birth control pills? This discovery sent a million horrible thoughts flashing through my mind. Is she cheating on me? Is she having an affair? I began to think back carefully on everything that had happened in the past few months. Olivia's increasingly frequent late-night phone calls, her increasingly cold attitude toward me, and the inexplicable overtime. Everything seemed to point to a truth I didn't want to face. Olivia might have cheated on me. The thought pierced my heart like a sharp dagger. I felt anger, betrayal, pain, but more than anything, helplessness. I don't know how to face this possible truth or how to save our marriage. After days of struggling with pain and doubt, I decided to take action. I know it's probably not very ethical, but I need to know the truth. Before my next business trip, I secretly installed a couple of hidden cameras in my home. They are cleverly tucked away in corners of living rooms, bedrooms, and dens where they cannot be easily found. I felt a wave of nausea as I put the last camera in place. I never thought that one day I would need to validate my wife's fidelity in this way. But I had no choice. I needed to know the truth, no matter how brutal it was. With a heavy heart, I stepped onto the plane to Italy. The business trip was supposed to be an exciting experience, tasting some of the best wines in Tuscany and visiting historic wineries. But at the moment, I have one image in my head: Olivia and a strange man in our bedroom. Every day in Italy, I was distracted. I mechanically savored the wine and dealt with the clients, but my thoughts always drifted back home. I kept checking my phone, waiting for notifications to come from the camera, all the while dreading the images that could destroy my marriage. Late at night, I would sit on the balcony of my hotel, looking out at the vineyards in the distance and contemplating my life. Olivia and I used to be so in love, and we had so many wonderful memories. Was it all just a dream? What am I supposed to do if Olivia really did cheat on me? Should I forgive her or end the marriage altogether? This trip to Italy became the longest, most painful week of my life. When I finally boarded the plane for my return trip, I was conflicted. On the one hand, I desperately wanted to know the truth. On the other, I was afraid to face the possible consequences. The plane landed slowly and my heart raced. I knew that once I opened those videos, my life could change forever. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone, tapping the camera app with a shaky finger. The truth was about to be revealed, and I, for one, was ready for any outcome. The night I got back from Italy, my whole world fell apart. I sat in my hotel room, my fingers trembling as I clicked on the footage from my home security camera. At first, it's business as usual. Olivia works in the living room, cooks in the kitchen, and it looks like business as usual. I was almost relieved to think I might have been overly concerned. However, just as I was about to turn off the video, I saw a scene that broke my heart. A strange man walked into our home. He was tall, handsome, and wore an expensive suit. I recognized him. It was Benjamin Barnes, a famous food blogger and one of Olivia's clients. I had seen a picture of them together on Olivia's social media and didn't care at the time. Olivia warmly greets Benjamin in the video. They hugged and kissed like a couple in love. I watched them walk into our bedroom and close the door. I felt a wave of vertigo and my stomach turned. I tried to turn off the video, but my hands wouldn't obey. I watched as the person I loved the most was entwined with another man in our marital bed. At that moment, I felt like my heart was being torn to pieces. The memories we shared, our vows, our future, all of it fizzled out in that moment. I don't know how I got through that night. I drank all the wine in the room, trying to numb my senses. But every time I close my eyes, I see those images and hear those voices. The next morning, I stumbled home with a hangover headache. My mind was a mess of deep pain and uncontrollable anger. Olivia was in the kitchen preparing breakfast when I pushed open the door to the house. She looked a little flustered when she saw me return suddenly, but managed to smile. "Alexander, why are you back early?" "I haven't had a chance to get ready." I ignored her words and went straight to the liquor cabinet. I pulled out a bottle of 1982 Lafite that I had been saving for years, a gift from my father when we got married. I used to fantasize that one day we would open this bottle together and celebrate our silver wedding anniversary. Now that wonderful illusion has been shattered. I opened the bottle and took a deep sniff. Even in this case, I was able to appreciate the aromas of this fine wine, blackcurrant, cedar, and tobacco flavors intertwined in a heady way. "What are you doing, Alexander? Didn't that bottle of wine say to save it for a special occasion?" Olivia's voice came from behind her with a hint of unease. I turned and looked at her beautiful face. That face I once loved so much now sends a wave of revulsion through me. "Special occasions?" I sneered, "like when you and Benjamin Barnes cheated on me in our bed?" Olivia's face instantly turned pale. She opened her mouth as if to explain something, but I no longer wanted to hear it. Anger completely consumed my sanity. I raised the bottle and slammed it in Olivia's direction. The bottle grazed her scalp and flew by, shattering into a million pieces as it hit the wall. The crimson wine splashed everywhere, like splattered blood. Olivia screamed and backed away, fear in her eyes. "Alexander, calm down. I can explain." But I can't listen to any more explanations. I grabbed the glasses on the table and slammed them into her one by one. Olivia curls up in the corner, shielding her head with her arms. Just then, Benjamin Barnes came rushing down the stairs. Seeing the scene in front of him, he immediately stepped in front of Olivia. "Stop it! Are you crazy?" he shouted. My anger increased when I saw him appear. I lunged at Benjamin and swung at his face with all my strength. We wrestled and rolled around in the shards of glass and wine stains that littered the floor. I don't know how long this mess lasted. When I finally came to my senses, Benjamin was lying on the floor with blood all over his face. Olivia curls up in the corner and sobs. And me, standing in the middle of a mess, with wine and blood on my hands. I looked around in bewilderment at the ruins of what was once a loving home. The furniture we had carefully chosen, the pictures on the walls, the precious wines, all ruined. Just then, the sound of sirens came from the distance. I just realized that I don't know who called the police. Panic struck suddenly. What did I do? I could go to jail. My career, everything I have, will be ruined. Before the police arrived, I made a hasty decision. I ran up to Olivia and grabbed her by the shoulders. "Listen," I said sharply. "If anyone asks, tell them it was a home invasion. Understand?" Olivia looked at me with horrified eyes and nodded slowly. I was crouched down next to Olivia, pretending to care for her, when the police broke down the door. I told the police that I had just gotten home to a break-in and I fought to protect my wife and her friend. However, My lies were quickly exposed. Benjamin wakes up and immediately reveals the truth. Olivia also breaks down under police questioning and tells all. I was arrested for assault with intent. While sitting in the police car, I watched our villa fade away. It hid our past, our dreams, and the wine that could never be tasted again. The next few days were a nightmare. My business was in trouble and clients were canceling contracts. Olivia filed for divorce and kicked me out of the cottage. I had to move into a small apartment and face the stress of the lawsuit alone. Every night, I would open a bottle of cheap wine and try to numb myself with alcohol. But every sip reminds me of those good old days, those times we sipped wine and laughed together. I used to think that love was like a vintage wine that gets better with time. But now I realize that love can be like a fragile wine glass that can shatter if you're not careful. As I waited for the trial, I often wondered if I hadn't acted on impulse that day. If we had been able to sit down and talk, would the outcome have been different? But there are no pills of regret in this world, like spilled wine that can never be recovered. I was once a prosperous wine merchant, but now I'm just a broken soul, fluttering in the gusty winds of fate. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that my life, like the bottle of 1982 Lafite that I shattered, can never be restored. Life hit me so hard that I almost lost hope for the future. I huddled alone in that tiny apartment, intoxicating myself day after day, trying to forget the past. All those once treasured wines are now cheap substitutes for inferior ones. I've even come to loathe the taste of wine because every sip brings back those painful memories. Just as I was about to sink completely, a phone call changed everything. Hello, is this Alexander? A familiar voice came from the other end of the line. It's me. May I ask who you are? I tried to sound less drunk. I'm William Martin. Remember me? We had a nice chat the last time you were at my winery. I tried to remember, and finally it came to me. William Martin is a longtime client of mine, a retired country doctor and owner of a small family winery. We did have a nice conversation when I was still happily married and looking forward to the future. Ah, Mr. Martin, of course I remember you. I said, how can I help you? Actually, William's voice softened. I was trying to help you. I heard about what happened to you recently. I'm so sorry. I'd like to invite you to spend some time at my winery and help me with some business. What do you think? I froze. For the past few months, most people have shunned me for fear of being tarnished by my notorious reputation. And now this old man, who could almost be a stranger, has reached out to me. I don't know what to say, Mr. Martin. I felt a lump in my throat, but I'm afraid I can't be of much help right now. Don't be silly, kid. William said gently, you're one of the best wine experts I've ever met. And, to be honest, I think you need more help right now. Come on, a little fresh country air might help you find your way in life again. And so it was that on a sunny morning, I embarked on a journey to the Martin family winery. When I arrived, I was awed by the sight before me. Stretches of vineyards glistened emerald green in the sunlight. A quaint stone house sat on a small hill with a red barn in the distance. Everything here exudes tranquility and coziness, a stark contrast to my previous life. I was warmly greeted by William and his wife Emma. I felt a little overwhelmed by their kindness. I hadn't felt such warmth in a long time. Come, Alexander, let me introduce you to my daughter, William said, calling toward the house. Sophia, come and meet our guest. A young woman came out of the house with long chestnut-colored hair and bright green eyes. I felt my heart skip a beat when she smiled and reached out to me. Hello, I'm Sophia. Her voice was crisp and pleasant. And welcome to our winery. Over the next few days, I gradually settled into life at Martin's house. Every morning, I toured the vineyard with William to check on the grapes. In the afternoons, I'll help organize the cellar and taste the new vintages. In the evenings, our whole family would sit around the fireplace, talking, playing chess, or simply enjoying a relaxing time. Time seems to slow down here, and each day is filled with peace and pleasure. Sophia became my good friend and right-hand man. She has an innate passion and keen taste for wine. We often taste wine together, discussing the characteristics of different grape varieties or exploring ways to improve the winemaking process. Her enthusiasm and simplicity reminded me of my younger self, the one who hadn't yet had the edges smoothed out by life. Slowly, I felt my heart heal in this vineyard. Instead of spending my days drinking wine, I have rediscovered my love of wine. I have come to appreciate the unique flavors of each wine as much as I appreciate every good moment in life. One day, I was working in the vineyard with Sophia. The sun was warm on us, and the sweet scent of grapes filled the air. We were talking and laughing about weeding the vines when Sophia suddenly asked, "Alexander, have you ever thought about starting over?" I stopped what I was doing and looked over at her. "Start over?" "Yeah," she said. "I mean your life. You're still young, and there are so many possibilities." I laughed bitterly. "I've lost everything, Sophia. My career, my marriage, my reputation. I don't know where else to start over." Sophia looked at me seriously, her eyes firm and tender. "But you still have your talent, your experience, and us. We all believe in you, Alexander. You just have to give yourself a chance." Her words were like a light that shone into the darkest corners of my heart. I felt my eyes get a little moist and hurriedly lowered my head to continue weeding. "Thank you, Sophia," I whispered. Just then William came hurrying in with an anxious look on his face. "Alexander," your lawyer called. "The court has decided to advance your case, and it's going to trial next week." I felt the blood in my body freeze. I had almost forgotten there was such a sword of Damocles hanging over my head. Seeing my expression, Sophia immediately held my hand. "Don't be afraid, Alexander. We'll face it with you." William nodded firmly as well. "That's right, son. We've hired the best lawyer for you. And both Emma and I are willing to testify to your character." I looked at the father and daughter and felt a sudden rush of warmth come over me. They chose to support me unconditionally during the toughest moments, and that friendship was stronger than any fine wine. I don't know how to thank you guys." I choked out. Sophia squeezes my hand gently. "You don't need to thank us, Alexander. This is what family does." Family. The word made my heart flutter. I haven't felt at home in a long time. Over the next week, we were busy preparing for the trial. William and Emma helped me compile a detailed record of my work at the winery to prove my good behavior. Sophia, on the other hand, practiced with me every day on questions I might encounter in court and helped me gain confidence. The night before we left, we had a small barbecue party in the vineyard. Under the starlight, we raised our glasses and drank old vintage wines from the Martin family's collection. That wine is rich and full-bodied, with a long aftertaste, just like the friendship and warmth I've gained here over this period of time. William raised his glass and said solemnly, "To Alexander, may you tell the truth in court and receive a fair trial. More importantly, may you find your way in life again." Everyone raised their glasses to echo his toast. When it was Sophia's turn, she looked me straight in the eye and whispered, "Here's to new beginnings." I look at these people in front of me with gratitude and strength. Regardless of the outcome tomorrow, I know I have found a new place to belong. This vineyard, this warm family, and Sophia's bright green eyes gave me the courage to start over. That night, I lay in bed and thought back on every day that I had been here. I realized that in this vineyard, I was not just healing, but reconnecting with myself and rediscovering my love of life. Tomorrow, I will be on my way to court. But this time, I am no longer alone. My heart is full of hope and determination, like a glass of fine wine that has survived the ages and has finally reached its moment of glory. The atmosphere in the courtroom was oppressive and tense. I sat in the defendant's chair and felt everyone's eyes on me. Olivia and Benjamin Barnes were sitting in the plaintiff's box, and they looked like they were recovering well, which made me feel a little bitter inside. My attorney is a young, capable woman named Emily. She was hired by William and was calm and sharp throughout the trial. "Your Honor, jurors," Emily began her argument. "My client, Mr. Alexander, did make a mistake, but that mistake stemmed from the deep betrayal he suffered. He is not a violent man, but a wine expert who loves life and respects others." She went on to describe in detail my background, my accomplishments in the wine industry, and my performance at Martin Family Winery. Both William and Emma appeared as witnesses to my character and recent good behavior. But the prosecution is also tough. The prosecutor pointed out that my actions had caused serious bodily harm and emphasized that such violence should not be easily excused. The entire trial was like a heated debate, with both sides going back and forth, like different styles of wine meeting on the palate at a wine tasting. I sat there feeling like a bottle of wine being tasted, waiting for the final judgment. Just as the trial was about to end, the unexpected happened. Sophia suddenly stood up and asked to speak as a witness. The judge granted her request. Sophia steps up to the witness stand, takes a deep breath, and then begins to speak. Your Honor, jurors, I would like to say that Alexander is a man who deserves to be given a second chance. Over the past few months, I have witnessed firsthand how he has worked hard to rebuild his life. Not only has he worked diligently at our winery, but he has helped us improve our winemaking process and the quality of our wines. Her voice became firmer. More importantly, I saw the goodness in his heart and his love of life. He taught me how to appreciate the unique flavor of each wine, just like appreciating every moment in life. I believe that if he is given a chance, he will be able to become a contributing member of society. I looked at Sophia in amazement, and my heart filled with emotion. She wasn't just testifying on my behalf, she was declaring to the world her trust and support for me. After the court recessed, the jury began a lengthy deliberation. The wait was agonizing, and I felt like every minute was as long as a century. Finally, the jury is back. The moment the jury foreman announced the verdict, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. We find that the conduct of the defendant, Mr. Alexander, does constitute assault, but we recommend probation in view of his good sense of remorse and determination to make a new life. The judge adopted the jury's recommendation and sentenced me to 3 years in prison and 5 years probation, with counseling and community service required. I felt a wave of vertigo as the judge declared the trial over. I know it's for the best, but it's still filled with mixed emotions. Walking out of the courtroom, I saw Olivia about to leave. Our eyes met in the air, and there was so much we wanted to say, but we didn't know where to start. In the end, we just nodded goodbye. I know that our past is history and that the road ahead will take us each on our own. William, Emma, and Sophia were waiting outside the courtroom with smiles of joy on their faces. Sophia ran over to me and gave me a big hug, and I felt her rapid heartbeat. "Great, Alexander," she said excitedly. "I knew it would work out." William patted me on the shoulder, tears of relief shining in his eyes. "Boy, welcome home." Homecoming. The word made my heart flutter violently. Yes, I finally have a place to call home. Back at the winery, we had a small celebration party. William opens a bottle of top-quality wine that has been in his collection for years, one of the family's most prized possessions. We raised our glasses and savored the mellow brew. The wine contains not only the aroma of grapes, but also the flavor of age and life. I looked at the crimson liquid in my glass, and it was as if I saw the trajectory of my own life. Once down in the dumps, now reborn. After the party, Sophia and I took a walk through the vineyard. The moonlight poured over the vines, gilding everything with a silvery glow. The air was filled with the aroma of earth and grapes and a hint of wine. "Alexander," Sophia said softly, "what's next for you?" I looked at the vineyard full of grapes and suddenly had an idea. I was thinking that perhaps I could stay here and continue to help you improve your brewing process. That is, of course, if you all agree. Sophia's eyes lit up. "Really? That's great. I'm sure Mom and Dad will agree." We smiled at each other and then looked away in unison. There, a new vineyard is being planned that will be our common endeavor. "You know," I said softly, "I used to think my life was like that bottle of 1982 Lafite that I broke, never to be restored. But now I realize that life is like making wine. It takes time, patience, and love. Even through setbacks, as long as we don't give up, we can always make new wine." Sophia took my hand, a gentle glint in her eye. "So, let's brew our own beauty bar together." It was at that moment, in the presence of a vineyard full of grapes, that we shared one of the sweetest kisses of our lives. At that moment, I felt like an old bottle of wine that had been through the ages and had finally found the perfect match. Over the next few days, I was fully committed to the winery. We have introduced new grape varieties, improved the winemaking process, and even developed a unique ice wine. Our wines have been highly rated at major tastings, and the reputation of the winery is growing. A year later in the spring, Sophia and I had our wedding in the middle of a vineyard. The newly budding vines bear witness to us in the sunshine. Our vows are like the finest wine, refreshing. At the wedding, William himself opened a bottle of wine that he had been collecting for years. As I savor that mellow taste, I feel the power of time. There is not only the nourishment of sunshine and rain in that wine, but also the ups and downs of life and the preciousness of what is lost and found. "Here's to new beginnings," William said as he raised his glass, "and may your love last as long as this wine." A few months later, Sophia told me she was pregnant. At that moment, I felt like my life was a vintage wine that had finally reached its opening. Words cannot describe the happiness I felt as I stroked Sophia's slightly bulging belly and felt the rhythm of new life. Today, whenever I stand in the cellar and look at the rows of aging barrels, I am reminded of my life's journey. I've hit the low points in my life, but it's those tough experiences that have taught me to appreciate every moment of goodness in my life. I realize that life is like a bottle of good wine. Need time to precipitate, need to go through the baptism of the wind and rain in order to emit the most mellow fragrance. Love, on the other hand, is that magic that can turn ordinary wine into agape. Now, whenever Sophia and I taste a new wine we've made together, I always think of that kiss in the moonlight. At that moment, we were not only tasting wine, but also savoring life, love, and life. And I, once a lost wine merchant, have now found a true home in this vineyard. My life, like a bottle of aged wine, has finally blossomed into the most splendid luster after years of precipitation. In this vineyard, with Sophia and the baby on the way, I am making the best wine of my life, a wine called happiness. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.